Okay, I'm with Jeff Hayward from the Rainforest Alliance here at COP17 in Durban. Jeff, if you could just tell me a little bit about, first of all, what your aims, what your concerns are in the Rainforest Alliance.
Yeah, our organization works to conserve biodiversity and improve the sustainable livelihoods of communities that live and work in forests. And we try to promote better business practices that will transform land use and also transform consumer behavior, and largely through certification of agriculture and forestry. So we're here at COP17 to work hard to see that the policies that help conditions on the ground with forest communities are advanced, particularly opportunities that will enable them to conserve carbon and conserve biodiversity within forested landscapes. Improving agricultural practices is very important for us. We'd like to see a more concentrated work program on agriculture, particularly around mitigation and mitigation activities that will actually help adaptation of agricultural communities.
I'm interested in how you reach agreement here, or hopefully you reach agreement here at COP17 and beyond. How do you then transfer some of those agreements you reach here and implement them in the communities where you're working around the world?
Well, most of our work is actually on the ground. Our Rainforest Alliance works in 75 different countries. We work with a number of different agricultural crops and commodities, and throughout Latin America, Africa, Asia. And so our implementation is largely driving better practices at the field level. And so whether this is about funds that can help stimulate better practices with agricultural growers, whether they're coffee farmers or cocoa farmers, we would want to be able to help channel those funds to communities so that they could use them to implement better practices. If it was around policies or incentive measures for carbon markets or carbon projects, we would want to see that best standards get employed and that they're done credibly, and to help to evaluate projects and improve upon projects. So our work is largely at the field level.
Presumably it's a two-way street. There are farmers who have been using their particular methods for generations, and yet there are scientific breakthroughs going on at the same time, research being done, universities far away from where these policies are implemented. How does that work? How do you marry those two things together, the work that's been done for generations in those communities and what you do on perhaps a more scientific level?
The Rainforest Alliance works with a sustainable agricultural standard that's delivered through the Sustainable Agricultural Network, and it represents about 100 different crops. And you'll see our frog logo, a kind of iconic frog logo, on numerous products globally. We basically have a set of very high standards for environmental and social performance in agriculture, and those enable the certification to take place, and farms are audited and they're evaluated, and they have local interpretations and local implementation guidelines which basically try to reflect and respect local knowledge, local practice, local tradition, as well as latest advances, particularly around issues around adaptation. What's going to be the suitability for growing coffee in a particular landscape 20 years from now? How does that inform decisions that farmers are taking today? When do they need to make decisions about switching crops, different types of crops, better crops? And then what are more simple strategies that you can take for adaptation? Cover crops, for example, mulching, introducing shade species into cropping systems, techniques for water capturing and water harvesting, and better drainage structures within farms that can help when there are heavier rainfall events to mitigate and reduce the impacts.
Being very optimistic, in a perfect world, what would you like to see come out of COP17?
We hope that COP17 will lead to advances on some of the technical modalities around setting reference emission levels for forests, provide more guidance and clarity around safeguards, and they would see more commitment to the Green Climate Fund, as well as movement towards the larger mandate about breaching a legally binding agreement after 2012.